Okay, Mr. Holmes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we are now streaming live on Facebook on the Adams Brothers Podcast. We would like to welcome you to the Adams Brothers Podcast. And we want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the podcast and talk to us. We are streaming live on Facebook. So we just want to, get your story out there and, so the world could, just see what you've been through, and how you made it out of the Florida Department of Corrections and where you are now. So right now we're talking to Mr. Sidney Holmes, and Mr. Holmes was convicted of a crime that he did not commit. And over the years, he maintained his innocence. For years and years and years, he maintained his innocence. And it ultimately paid off for Mr. Holmes, and he's now a free man. So, Mr. Holmes, just kind of introduce yourself to us and our viewers.
Well, like I said, I am Sidney Holmes. I was sentenced to 400 years in prison 34 years ago for a crime I did not commit. But during my incarceration, I refused to give up hope that one day I will receive my freedom again for a crime I did not commit. It's been a long road. It's been 24 days since I've been out of prison. I'm still trying to adjust to the situation because everything have changed over the last 34 years.
Yes.
But it's been a whirlwind. But like the papers say, the original sentence was 800 years. They were trying to give me for a crime I did not commit. But God is so good and real. So at this point, I was the Innocent Project, and CRU was very grateful to hear my cry. Started in 2017, and 2020 March 13th, I was released from prison. Hello?
Okay. We your connection is a little weak, but we're gonna still go forward here.
You hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can
You
hear
hear
you.
me now?
Yes, your hand is covering the camera, but yeah, we can
Okay.
see you.
Okay. Let me do that.
So, Sidney, take us back to the day of the murder. Where were you, and what were you doing that day?
Okay, it wasn't a murder. It was a robbery.
Robbery. I'm sorry, the robbery.
The day of the robbery happened on June 19, 1988. I was celebrating Father's Day with my father and family and friends at a Father's Day barbecue on a Sunday afternoon. I was home with 9, 10 other individuals, and I was falsely accused. A robbery took place at a convenience store. Two patrons got robbed, and I was accused of the robbery. A robbery. They had no evidence whatsoever. Also, they had multiple other cars that they wouldn't identify was the wrong vehicle. But the detectives settled on me. They left me a card saying they need to see me. With no problem, I went and see. I called them and went and visited them. Went to see him because I had nothing to hide because I wasn't the perpetrator. They asked to take a picture. I gave them a picture. And next time I know, 3 months later, I'm charged with an armed robbery that I had no knowledge of.
Right. So when you were charged with the crime, did you ever back then did you ever retain an attorney back in those days?
Or was you given a public defender?
I was
assigned a public defender.
I was assigned a public defender at the time, but over the years I done spent multiple dollars on attorneys, appeals, to no avail.
Okay, and so you were arrested, and how many days did you spend in jail before you were in the county jail before you had your day in court?
from October the 6th, 1988 until April 1989.
Okay.
I was
So
sentenced I was sentenced April 1989 to 400 years.
right.
And do you remember, Sidney, who was the prosecutor at the time? Do you remember? I know it's been a long time. Do you remember who was the prosecutor?
I will never forget that name. Named Pete Magrino.
Pete Magrino. I am very familiar with Pete Magrino back in the days. I got robbed back in the days, and Pete Magrino was the assistant state attorney that was assigned to the case. I'm very familiar with him.
Yeah, that's who it was.
I believe he's up in North Florida now, because I saw him on a crime show, and he retired from here, and I think he's in North Florida. I know I saw him up on one of the crime shows. He's the assistant state attorney.
Yeah, he's in North Florida, and he's still disappointed that the current state attorney got it right, that I was the wrong individual. He's still angry at this point that it happened.
Right. So you were convicted. Yeah, obviously you went to trial and you were convicted of a robbery that you obviously didn't commit, and you were sentenced to prison. And how many years did you ended up with in prison?
400.
400 years in prison.
And how did that come about, Sidney? How did the 400 years come about under the sentencing guidelines at that time?
Like they say, like the prosecutor said, it wasn't even no evidence to support the sentencing process. At one time, they were saying 800 years I should have received, but the judge said that was excessive, so they settled on 400, and that was crazy. The most crime should have carried, even like they say, even if I was guilty of the situation, it shouldn't have been no more than a 30-year sentence.
So, Sidney, did they sentence you because of like 3 strikes back then? I know it was certain 3 strike laws back here in Florida, or I forgot the other name that they called. Did they use that to further your sentence? Be like similar like a 3 strike like in California or other states? Did they use that to give you more time?
No, they couldn't use it because I never had no 3 strikes. How they gonna use that law and it don't apply to me?
Okay, because I know where I was reading one time where they were saying past convictions was the reason why.
No, it was one episode that it's the same incident happened again. It was never no 2 or multiple. No, that's incorrect. It was only one.
Okay.
One proud. One.
Right. Yeah. So you were in prison, and the whole time you were there. I mean, how did you feel being locked up for a crime that you didn't commit? I mean, just tell us how you felt. Obviously being convicted of something that you didn't do, and you're in prison, away from your family, away from your kids, and everything, and you're sitting in there, and you're maintaining your innocence. I mean, how did you feel? How did you cope with that? Did it affect your mental state? I'm sure it did.
Well, mentally, it didn't affect me because the Christian value and the faith that I have before I went to prison and to this day, that I was never gonna let the strength I can have to give my may rest in peace, my father. That's what he instilled in me a long time ago. Son, never give up on nothing that you ever try to. Never give up. Don't never let nobody let you give up on anything. So I went in prison. I was angry. I was 22 years old. Had a career going before I got arrested. So giving up wasn't an option. My mother and family members and my father that living at the time, they would have never allowed me to give up. Giving up hope. We spent a lot of money, a lot of lawyers. Went to a lot of provinces, lost homes. We done did a lot. We done been through so much. But at the end of the day, I'm always a strong figure individual. As far as giving up hope, yeah, I was angry. I'm a 22-year-old kid with 400 years, and not even that. the statement that was made in the courtroom said, only way I believe the part of correction being a body bag on the stretcher. That was said in open court. So yeah, it was a lot of anger. It was a lot, but to this day, I told myself I wasn't gonna give up. I went in prison. When I went to prison, I educated myself on multiple occasions, got a degree, computer skills. I marketed myself, stayed in the law library, constantly wrote multiple letters, 200, 300, 400 letters, different organizations, innocent property, multiple law schools. I did it all. I told myself I will never give up until the day I stop breathing.
Yes. And I know you said you never gave up. That was one of my questions I was going to ask you, about, did reality ever set in that you wasn't going to get out of prison? And I know you said your mental state was good, because I know a lot of times when I know people that have been to prison and sitting there, and they said
we lost him. We lost Sidney. I think his connection was lost, and I'm not sure what happened to him. I think he's in a bad area. He's traveling.
Give us a moment. We're gonna try to get Sidney back. He's in a vehicle.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll come back on here. We could get him back on. Well, we were talking to Sidney Holmes. He was wrongfully convicted of a crime that he didn't commit, and he was sentenced to 400 years in prison. And he maintained his innocence the whole time that he was in prison, and ultimately he's home right now because he didn't give up. And we're going to try and get him back on here. We don't know what happened.
We lost Sidney.
He obviously his signal was pretty bad out where he's traveling at right now. Hopefully we could get him back.
We're waiting on him to come back in the room now. Hopefully his connection comes back.
Right. So again, we were in the middle of the interview with Mr. Sidney Holmes. He was convicted here in Broward County, Florida.
In 1988.
In 1988 of a robbery that he did not commit. And we didn't get to all of the questions because obviously, like you all saw, Sidney Holmes is here. Okay, here he is. He's coming back right now.
We're gonna bring him back right now. Okay. Yeah, I see it saying connected.
I guess we got disconnected.
Yeah, that's how it happens when you're on live.
We lost you.
But you're back now.
You're back now.
Yeah, I'm back.
Obviously, you're in a bad area out there right now. So
yeah.
Right. So like we were saying, my brother was saying that, you maintain your innocence through it all, and you never, gave up hope that you would be a free man, and like you said earlier, you said that they told you would never get out of prison, and when you did leave prison, that you would be in a body bag and a casket. Look at you right now. You're a free man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I think, has to do with who we currently have down there as a state attorney, as Mr. Harold Pryor.
Correct.
He was elected here a couple of years ago.
2020. We had him on our podcast.
We had him here on this podcast when he was running for state attorney. And when he got elected, he promised to change things down there in the state attorney's office. And
he has.
Yes, he has. And he formed this group,
TRU.
Right. And that's he had this team to go back and investigate old cases. Right. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, it's a conviction relief unit. It's ran by Miss Ariel done by Berger and her staff. I know they review cases, you have to send in a petition, then they look over cases and see all the flaws or whatever. And I got to give them the utmost respect and credit. They did a fantastic, awesome job. They, to be only 3 women in the office, to believe in me and believe in the case. They collaborated with the Innocent Project. But, like I said, I have to give Mr. Pryor the utmost respect. And him and his staff, he's doing a marvelous job. I know a lot of people don't like what they're doing, but he's doing a great job in cleaning up a lot of the rhetoric that has been down there for so long.
Right. Yes, he is. And that's why it is important to get out and vote, because Mr. Pryor was elected first Black state attorney here in Broward County, Florida, and he promised that he would go in and change things and look, reform the state attorney's office, because it was business as usual down there for many years. And I don't think if his predecessor, I don't think he would have done this,
How was it under Michael Sachs, Mr. Holmes? How was it? How were your interactions with Mr. Sachs and the state attorney's office in the past?
If to be respectable, I won't comment on Mr. Sachs because he's got a lot of flaws. So to be honest with you, to keep it professional, to be honest, it was a lot of corruption and a lot of things during Mr. Sachs' administration. So, we grateful that we have Mr. Pryor to go in there and revamp and get, change the whole culture of the state attorney's office.
Right.
And tell us about the Innocence Project, Mr. Holmes. How did you come in contact with the Innocent Project?
Well,
I know the one out of New York City is ran by Barry Scheck. I think his son or someone is running it now, correct?
No, this year Innocent Project is out of Florida. It's out of Tallahassee. The dude's name is Brendan Scheck. He's no related to Barry Scheck, but his name is Brendan Scheck. Okay, I got involved with him about the case. It was a process. They have a screening process. The screening process started from 17. Then it went on. They used to update me monthly, every other month. Telling me just keep patient. We screen him because out of 100% cases, they only take 1%. Out of 100%, they only take 1%. Then the COVID pandemic happened, so everything kind of slowed down. But once the COVID dropped down, it came to a little control. 2021, the case picked up. Then they went to come to see me at Everglades Correctional Institution. They went to investigate all my witnesses and all the alibi witnesses. Even they went in and talked to the victims. And both victims in the case also say they don't know why Mr. Holmes is still in prison. We never identified him then, and we don't know why he's still there. So that was a major part of the process too, because the people say I wasn't the individual that committed the crime.
Right. So when you got the news that obviously you had to go back to court to be released from prison, when you went back to court, when you found out that you were going back to court, how did you feel about that?
I feel great about it because they had told me that it was coming. It was a process that was going to happen. Basically, I didn't even supposed to get out until the 16th. But what happened is they filed a 384-page motion to the judge the week before. He was out of his office on Thursday and Friday. But when he checked his emails and checked the motion, he said, "We're not waiting till Thursday. I'll sign the motion Monday morning. We're going to release Mr. Holmes on Monday morning." It's down to the backtrack. Before the process started for me to get out, they had to get a review board to review the case to make sure an independent review board to review. It was 6 people on the interview review board. And the 5 out of the 6 say we need to exonerate him today when it started back in January. So, but the process had to take a little time, because we know everything dealing on political, make sure the Pharaoh didn't, everything was adequate and it was done like it's supposed to. But it was a process. I knew it was going to happen. I just had to keep praying, and that day finally did come.
Right. And we all saw you on TV, and we were all so happy for you to regain your freedom. It had to be tough, man, for you to be sitting in prison for 34 years. I know there had to be some anger, like you said, there was some anger involved in, some feelings. And to see you walk out of prison as a free man, that really made us all feel, have a sense of hope, for so many people. And it's not just you that's in the Florida Department of Corrections, and it's all over this country. There are people in prison right now who are serving time for crimes that they didn't commit. And just to see you walk out of prison, man, and be exonerated and be a free man right now, that's a good feeling. What was the first thing that you do when you got out of prison?
Went to Olive Garden to eat. Went to Olive Garden to eat.
With the Olive Garden to eat.
And how was life? How have you started adapting to life after prison now?
Well, I've been adapting. It's been a slow process. They got an organization called OIC. They've been very helpful in my transition, along with friends. A beautiful, woman. Everything been coming. It's been coming. People been helping out. So it's been good.
That's good, and that's good. And I heard you just said OIC. What is that the acronym for?
I really don't know the acronym, but they sponsor all re-entry. They do a lot of re-entry.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I had lunch with the CEO and president yesterday with him and Mr. Henry Crockett yesterday,
Right.
From the Crockett Foundation.
Right.
So I had lunch with them yesterday, and then they're very helpful with a lot of things that they try to help me accomplish.
Right. Well, that's good.
And Mr. Holmes, I want to talk for a moment about compensation. Did Florida offer you any type of compensation? And I know they passed a law years ago where they only offer $50,000, and then you're not entitled to compensation if you were convicted of a prior crime. And the question again is, did the state of Florida or Broward County or whoever offer you any type of compensation?
Well, right now, that's in the making, and I'm not privileged to comment on that due to the lawyer's advice, so I can't come on that.
Right. Okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair. And hopefully you do get compensated, because there's no amount of money that they can pay you to repay you for the 34 years and 5 months that you spent in prison for a crime that you didn't commit. There's no amount of money that they can pay you, and hopefully they should right or wrong and compensate you somewhere down the line and make a wrong a right. And I'm sure we're not the one that feels that way. And we really hope that you get compensated. Now you got out and you went to Olive Garden, and you had Olive Garden, you ate, and then when you left Olive Garden, what else did you do when you got out?
Just when it's been a lot of time with family and friends, my daughter, my grandkids, just to bond with family and friend, my mother. I did lose my father 4 years ago, but thank God I still have my mother.
Right.
My condolences.
Yeah, you have our condolences.
It's just a blessing to still have my mother. So I've just been spending a lot of time with my sister, my grandkids, and nieces, just bonding with the whole family as a whole. Like the people told me that there's no rush for me to go get employment, because they all support me in the Innocent Project, things that I need, gift cards, money, they pay for everything, even the organization OIC, they've been very supportive with the transition back to society.
Right.
And that was one of my questions too, as far as while out of prison, what are you planning to do with the rest of your life? And
Well,
for my question.
Well, I'm in the process of trying to a food truck. Like I said, these organizations gonna help me buy a food trailer. Monday I just took the food management, food handling class. I got to take a food management class. I've been very busy. Next week I got a lot of business venture. We're gonna just pray and see where it take me. I don't know. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Have you been asked to speak at a lot of places? Like, have you been asked to speak at churches or schools or anywhere? Are you on demand? Your demand real high right now?
Yeah, I have spoken to a Brazilian radio television station. They put me on camera. I got to do a Channel 6. I'll follow up next week. I did an Israeli radio station. I did a radio station from Switzerland. I did a couple of newspapers, the local newspaper, the Pelican, and another mag, the Village. So I got a journalist for another podcast. I got to do a podcast for them.
Yes, I saw you on CNN here about maybe 2 weeks ago. I saw.
Correct.
You
I was on CNN. I was on Channel 6 with Chelsea Jones. So yeah, I've been kind of busy.
Yeah, well,
that's good. That you've been keeping yourself busy, and I'm sorry that this happened to you, Mr. Holmes. Our criminal justice system definitely needs more checks and balances. So something like this will never happen. I know it's gonna continue to happen because most people don't know they are just a step away from being in your shoes.
Yes.
I was telling people about if you ever get a chance to watch, it's a movie or a documentary called Murder on a Sunday Morning. And it happened in Jacksonville, Florida. And it was about a 15-year-old named Brenton Butler. He was walking on a Sunday morning to go get a job application, and the police stopped him, and his life changed. But it was a murder occurred, the man and his wife, and the wife was murdered, and they bought the husband who was traumatized, and he identified Brenton Butler. And it was two different people, and the young man, the police beat him up, forced a confession out of him. And it's a documentary I think everyone, if you get a chance to watch, similar to Mr. Holmes, it's called Murder on a Sunday Morning. And, it's like really, there was no punishment mechanism in place for the people that caused Mr. Butler's, jail time, and he spent over a year in jail. And I just wish, we can end this qualified immunity that bill that has been out there for the longest, where it will be a punishment mechanism for cops, for prosecutors, because right now they're shielded by the law right now. And will you be an advocate for trying to change those laws in the future?
Most definitely. I'm all in to want to be an advocate to change laws, because right now the system is badly broken. But I have to speak on any occasion, of course, without a doubt.
right.
Because I don't want to never see another 22-year-old be facing the same situation I was in.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, like I stated earlier, there are many other people here in Florida that are sitting in prison right now for something that they didn't do. There are people that's free right now that should be in prison for crimes that they committed, but they're free. And then again, thanks again to the Honorable Harold Pryor down there at the State Attorney's Office for having the guts to even look at your case and others.
Exactly.
And that's the type of politicians and people that we should be out here campaigning and voting for, and put the right people in office to do things like this. Because had he not been elected, you probably wouldn't be here right now, because I don't think another state attorney would have would have even had
Looked
the
at
guts
your
to
case.
do or even look at your case, you know?
I agree. I would agree 100%.
Because they have that mentality now of, and you're seeing it all across Florida now. You keep hearing this word wokeness, which woke and being woke and that word is being weaponized by these politicians, and they're using it against the, and they have that lock everyone up mentality here in Florida. And you're gonna see a lot more of cases like that happening here. And also, Mr. Holmes, is there any way that if anyone would like to donate anything to you, do you have like Zelle or Cash App where people can make donations to you?
Yes, I also have a GoFundMe account as well.
Go ahead and put it
Go-
out there.
Put it out there.
Yeah, I got a GoFundMe account. It's I'll send the link to you.
Okay, right.
Cash App, Zelle.
Yeah, I have Cash App and Zelle.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Well, you get it. You get us your Cash App, your Zelle, and your GoFundMe page, and we'll add it on our channel.
Okay, I was sure to do that, sir.
And
I appreciate it.
Hopefully millions of people around the country and around the world sees this video and will reach out to you. And if the state of Florida and Broward County don't have the guts to compensate you, hopefully that we have some generous people around the world that would. And when we find your GoFundMe page, we would,
Yes.
be glad to make a donation.
No doubt.
To help you get on your feet and to get back into society and be productive member of society like I know you want to be.
Yes.
Yeah. We have been talking to Mr. Sidney Holmes. He was wrongfully convicted of a robbery that he didn't commit, and he spent 34 years and 5 months in prison, and he is now a free man. And we want to thank you. We see that you're on the road and traveling right now. That we want you to be careful out there and be safe. And want to thank you for taking the time out to come by and stop by and talk to the Adams Brothers podcast. And congratulations to you on your freedom. And we hope you live another 50 or 60 years, man.
And much prosperity and blessings to you, Sidney Holmes.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we'll be in touch with you. And once again, thank you for stopping by.
And you're welcome to come on anytime.
Anytime
you want. You have our contact information. Anything, any message you want to get out, you're welcome to come on the Adams Brothers podcast anytime.
All right, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You.
And have
All
a
right.
great
You have a
evening.
blessed evening.
You too.